third grade, I'm back for another episode of Grammar Time with me, Miss Hofstad. For today's grammar lesson, we're going to keep talking about adjectives. We're just going to add on to what we learned last week. Last week we learned about the 3 questions that adjectives ask. Today we're going to talk about when you use an adjective to compare two nouns. Remember, nouns are people, places, and things. So today's topic again is adjectives that compare. The first rule to using adjectives that compare is that you add ER to the end of most adjectives that compare two nouns. For example, if you take me, you take my brother, we are two people. And let's use the adjective old. So you wouldn't say I am old than my brother. You would say I am older than my brother. So you just added that ER to the end. The second rule when you're using adjectives to compare nouns is adding EST to most adjectives that compare more than two nouns. So now again, let's use me, let's use my brother, and let's use my sister. You wouldn't say I am old than I am the old sibling. You say I am the oldest sibling because now there are 3 of us. Does that make sense? Let's look at some more examples. Ryan ran faster than Sally. There are 2 people in this, so there's 2 nouns, so we added ER to the end of it. Ryan ran faster than Sally. But now, when we say Ryan is the fastest kid in his class has way more than 2 people in it. That's more than 2 nouns, so we said Ryan is the fastest. We added that EST to the end. Okay, let's look at a picture, just in case that helps. So in this case, our noun is the dog. And so if you just have one dog, he's a loud dog, he's a great dog, he's a warm dog. Now, if you're going to compare this dog to this dog, you can say this dog is louder than the little dog, this dog might be greater than the little dog, and this dog might be warmer than the little dog. Now, we're comparing more than 2. Now we're looking at all of these dogs. And let's say the Dalmatian. That Dalmatian is the loudest dog, that Dalmatian is the greatest dog, and that Dalmatian is the warmest dog. So again, if there's just one, you just use your regular adjective. If there's 2 and you're comparing, you add ER to the end. And if there's 3 and you're comparing, you add EST to the end. So now let's practice. Here's our sentence. Oscar is a very blank dog. Well, we could say Oscar is just one dog, so he's not a very friendliest dog. He's not a very friendlier dog. He is a very friendly dog. How about this one? It is blank today than it was yesterday, and we have the adjective cold. Well, we know we have today and yesterday, so we have 2 nouns, so we will just add ER to the end of our adjective. So it is colder today than it was yesterday. Grandpa was because his favorite team lost, and we have the adjective angry. Well, we're just talking about Grandpa, so it's just one person. So Grandpa is just angry because his favorite team lost. This has been the blank day all year, okay? So we're talking about one day, but it's of the whole year. So that's way more than 2 because there's 365 days in a year. So if we look at the adjective busy, we're not going to say this has been the busy day all year or the busier day all year. We're going to say this has been the busiest day all year. Okay, last one. Brandon is the blank boy in our class with the adjective tall. Well, we're talking about a class, and there are lots of kids in a class, so Brandon is the tallest boy in our class. Okay, so we've done that practice, but now, remember how I said these rules apply for most adjectives? Here comes that sneaky rule. If an adjective has 2 syllables or more, then instead of adding est or er to the end of it, you add the word more or most or less or least to the beginning instead. Here's an example. Let's look at the word interesting. So interesting has 4 syllables. Interesting. So instead of saying it's interesting-er or it's the most interestingest, we say it's more interesting, most interesting, less interesting, or least interesting. So let's practice. Frozen 2 is blank interesting than Frozen. Well, there's 2 Frozen movies, so we're saying it's more interesting, or you could say less interesting depending on what your opinion is. More interesting than Frozen or less interesting than Frozen. But now, our last one is Toy Story 4 is the blank interesting of all the Toy Story movies. So there's 4 that we're comparing. So you would say it's the most interesting or the least interesting of all of the movies. Now, because there aren't as many adjectives with 2 or more syllables, I'm just going to leave that with just that one example today, especially since most of the things in your reader's notebook are about adjectives with 1 syllable and comparing, and I want you to remember the ER and the EST rule more than you remember this rule. Keep this one in the back of your head because we will use it eventually, but there's only 2 examples with this one. So hopefully this has helped. I miss you guys. You can go ahead and do pages 16 and 17 in your reader's notebook. Have a good week.
Bye.
Does that make sense? Let's practice. Or actually, let's look at some more examples. I forgot there was more examples. Look at that, surprising myself. Just kidding. So now let's practice. So now let's practice. So if you see this, we salve this. We salve a sentence. Woo!